1-1, yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay. You tune into the HBCU Sports Lab with Dr. Bill, Mike and Charles, and I'm time.
YT Production.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it. I love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay. You tune into the HBCU Sports Lab with Dr. Bill, Mike and Charles, and I'm time.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, brought to you by THG Agency. Welcome and thanks for joining us inside the HBCU Sports Hall, our HBCU Sports Lab, if you would, for the only weekly sports talk radio show that is dedicated to exploring the sporting HBCU diaspora, including the marching sport with its unique HBCU cultural identity, the teams, the bands, coaches, athletic directors, commissioners, provosts, presidents, big rivalry matchup, classic games, homecoming events, and much, much more of the HBCU athletics aesthetics as we emerge and lecture with our sport business practices in the competitive sports industry. The show seeks to provide innovative, progressive, informative dialogue about the week's HBCU sporting events, issues, and ideas from a fan's perspective. We review the Southwestern Athletic Conference, better known as SWAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, better known as the MEAC of the NCAA Division I, as well as Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, SIAC, the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, the CIAA of the NCAA Division II, Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, GCAC of the NAIA, and independent programs such as Tennessee State of the OVC, Hampton of the Big South, Langston of the Sooner Athletic Conference, and Texas College, affiliate member of the Southern Athletic Conference, as well as Edward Waters, as they transition from NAIA, NCAA Division II, and membership in the SIAC. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, a.k.a. the Dean of College of HBCU Sports. How we going, gentlemen? How's it going for everybody there?
How you doing, Dr. Cavil?
Good to hear from you, Charles. How you doing, Mike?
What's going on?
Man, I'm good. I'm good at it. Yourself, I see you doing it big time. Let's just jump right in, get us some news of the day, and then we'll give us a shout out to those that have joined us already for the show. You know, we want to make sure we give much love to our followers that continues to give us the reason to get this done in so many ways. As we do that, let me go ahead and get a shout out, if you would, to Charles. Go ahead and start us with the HBCU news of the day.
Sure thing, Dr. Cavil, and today we're going to start off on a somber note, and I would like to dedicate today's show to the memory of the great Marino Godfather Cassim. He's a SWAC and HBCU legend. He passed away this past Saturday at the age of 85. He's one of the all-time coaching greats in HBCU football. And when you talk about the man simply known as the Godfather, 22 years at Alcorn, 4 Black College National Championships, and then he assumed the Director of Athletics position at Southern in 1986, and he paved the way. He hired Coach Pete Richardson at Southern. So definitely want to start out on a somber note in mentioning the passing of Marino the Godfather Cassim.
That's certainly appropriate that you dedicate the show to the Godfather. I mean, that says it all. You talking about one of the best nicknames out there in terms of sports, the Godfather. What else can you say? Legendary coach Marino Cassim. It was sad when I saw that pop up on so many of my social media feeds. We knew that day was coming, but still, once you actually hear it, no doubt about it, it's a sad day. Before I pass the mic to you, Mike, in regards to the next news of the day, did you want to comment on Marino Cassim?
Yes. I think he was an icon. I think that goes without saying. But the thing that just stands out to me, I don't know if this is good or bad, was his saying. He's known for a quote. And I know my colleague, Charles Bishop, Yada, I know that you're familiar with it. I didn't know that he was the one known for this quote. I was familiar with it, but I didn't know that he was known for this quote. And it's in the East, where the Ivy Leaguers are, it's a cultural experience. In the West, with Stanford and all those people out there, it's a tourist attraction. In the Midwest, with Nebraska and those folks, it's a form of cannibalism. But in the South, where we reside, football is a religion, and Saturday is a holy day of obligation. I didn't realize he was the one.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that quote up. That is so appropriate as we dedicate the show. I actually put that quote in a book chapter that I wrote in regards to HBCU athletics and the culture, as I like to say, the sporting HBCU diaspora, the culture, the HBCU culture aesthetics. And that quote, better than anything I've written over the years in terms of the detail, but that simple quote says it all.
And you know,
go ahead, Charles. I know you wanted to get in. I knew you weren't gonna be able to let that quote go.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about the legend, of course, and I grew up on so many stories from my dad and my neighbors just talking about games that where the Godfather was the coach and him going against the great Bob Hill with Jackson State and the other coaches around the SWAC. But the 1984 game, I was 11 years old, Mississippi Valley versus Alcorn, and that is one of the games that really sparked my passion, my love for HBCU athletics, HBCU football. That game had everything: the pageantry, the attendance. I still, when I think about it, it brings goosebumps on my skin. Just the anticipation, and when Mississippi Valley walked out the locker room with Jerry Rice, and you had guys like Richard Miles and Perry Quall for Alcorn, and Ike Holt versus Jerry Rice that day. That game will always live in my memory as one of the best events that I've ever been a part of with HBCU athletics.
I imagine that's a lot of reason why you do what you do today. Fell in love with it back then.
Truly iconic.
I know Mike has that experience with his father, rest in peace, is no longer with us, and his uncle in terms of relationships that he's heard over the year, who they room with, legendary players and stuff like that. And so that's the chapter that we were born in. My great uncle. We see right here on the corner, Big Ben, playing at Wiley College when they were a member of the conference, literally the first decade they ever played. Cousin, his father that played at Prairie View and won a national championship, also a conference championship. So it's all around us, so it's real. So don't want to hold up too much time, but I don't think you can ever not pay enough tribute to the legend. With that, before I pass it to Mike to give us some other news of the day, Thank you for Lonnie Walker, Glenn Green. Chuck Hunt is in the building as always, representing Monroe, Louisiana. Prayers continue to go out to Chuck Hunt and what he experienced, obviously with the tornadoes, and all the people out there dealing with COVID-19. With that, Mike, what you got for us?
All right. Well, there are a couple of other news, but since we're on the line of legends, over the past week there was a documentary on Eddie Robinson that was released to YouTube. Now, with COVID-19, most of us have spent a lot of time, at least me and my family, on not only YouTube but Amazon Prime, Huddle,
yes,
whatever the channel may be. But there's a mini documentary that's aired, and this was announced maybe 5, give or take 6 days ago, highlighting the legendary career of former Grambling State coach Eddie Robinson. It focuses more on, his life. While the 408 wins or so is important and is well documented, it more focuses on his relationship in making men better. And so I just wanted to highlight that's come out on YouTube. If you have not had a chance to get to view it, to take a look at it, please take a look and support, but get to know Eddie Robinson, not only the coach, the icon, but the man. So.
No doubt about it. Great point that you make there. Again, appreciate you sharing that, Mike, as always, bringing it hot and heavy. Back to Charles. What other type of news do you have for us?
Well, Dr. Cavil, we had the NFL draft this past weekend, and HBCUs did have one draft pick. He's Tennessee State offensive lineman Lachavious Simmons. He was selected in the 7th round by the Chicago Bears. So this keeps a streak for Tennessee State in terms of having an offensive lineman. This is their 5th Tennessee State offensive lineman drafted since 2014. So kudos go out to Lachavious Simmons from Tennessee State.
Very appropriate. Yeah, he got the call. A lot of other free agency, and we'll get a chance to go in a little detail on those free agencies probably in the show, because we're going to give them a chance to get out there. We'll look at a couple of them. Obviously, you had the quarterback, Jalen Morton, Jordan Jones from Prairie View. Norfolk State had Bobby Price get a free agent call from Detroit Lions. Both Prairie View players went to Green Bay. And then Morgan State's Manash Bailey signed with Philadelphia Eagles as undrafted free agents, as well as South Carolina State's Alec Taylor, free agency offensive tackle, 6'8", biggest one out there, signed a free agent deal with Cleveland Brown. Many people thought South Carolina State's Alex Taylor would have actually been the first HBCU to come off the board. It was not to be. Much credit to Tennessee State for continuing to feed the NFL with offensive linemen. Quite amazing. You really look back just in recent time what they've been able to do. So great call there. Thank you for sharing that. Let's get back to it. Next up, give us some updates. Mike, what else you got?
I got just a big point on the draft.
No doubt.
No HBCU no HBCU products were chosen in above the 3rd round for the first time since 2015. I can't go past that. So past the 3rd round, going past 2015, this is the first year where there was an HBCU product. So I don't know if this is a question mark year. I don't know if it's a sign of the times we're in, but that, there were a number of colleges and universities from Power 5 conferences that didn't have a pick at all. Duke, Northwestern, Mississippi State, to be honest. So it wasn't just HBCU. So I'm wondering, is it a grander problem? I'm wondering, is it an HBCU problem? I just kind of question mark in my notes as I was watching the draft to see how HBCU athletes, kind of fared this weekend. So,
Great point with that footnote there. I would like to jump in there and follow up with that, because I think it is something that needs to be discussed. I think a lot of it is the fact that you had the COVID-19 and you didn't get a chance. That HBCU Combine, I'm sure, would have gave a couple of players the opportunity to leap out from the free agency market into the draft and maybe higher on the draft boards in terms of Tennessee State player that went. So it's a great point. I think trending, when you look and measure it with the Celebration Bowl, things were trending up. So it'll be interesting to say, is this a footnote in terms of it going in what we would perceive as the wrong direction, or is just going to be a footnote? I see you on the follow-up, Charles.
Well, I mean, it's curious to me because, like you mentioned, we did have the COVID-19 crisis come up, but for me, I see the continued trend of NFL teams basically in terms of how they treat the HBCU athlete, in terms of how they treat the HBCU football player, continuing to force them to go the undrafted free agent route. Undoubtedly, you did have, this. You had the combine that was not able to take place, but we continue to see year after year after year people that we think are fairly draft worthy. Of course, we're not scouts or anything, but we know talent when we see talent. But you continue to see NFL teams sort of go the cheaper route in terms of not drafting a player and having to guarantee upfront money and making them go the undrafted free agent route. So that's a bit of a concern for them, huge concern.
I kind of wonder about that. Just to build on that, CB, I wonder is it just a shift that impacts HBCUs, and is it a quality of product issue? Is it a combination of COVID-19, or is it that a continuous, kind of going to your point, a continuous process where slowly but surely, HBCU products are kind of being pushed back in the cart of consideration. I haven't put my hands on it. I think this year has an asterisk around it because of COVID-19, but I'm a little bit concerned that you're starting to see a little bit of a trend in that, HBCU athletes are going that route, and you'll have some actually go up to the Canadian League. And again, just to preface the statement, HBCU students and athletes are not the only ones, but it just seems to me to be more of a trend toward HBCU athletes nowadays. And I didn't know if I was the only one that kind of noticed that trend or what, and if there were some other corollary factors that could play in.
I think one of the other corollary factors, as you all bring up, extremely important points in a framework, but I also think there was one thing that happened to catch as I was going back and forth to ESPN. Obviously, I did not watch the draft. I still have some concerns with what the NFL is doing. But as I went to ESPN to pick up some highlights, I also noticed that the SEC, this is the second time that they had the second highest number of athletes drafted. So I think there's a combination between that. That you have the SEC, obviously with the amount of money they have, and then the Big Ten associated with all the television exposure. You have obviously a lot higher number of athletes there. But I think there's also the benefit of all the things associated with that brand and the idea that they have the best athletes, that you're also seeing the SEC merge up with this super amount of talent, where there may be a question, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt in terms of the draft status. In a lot of ways, it kind of goes back to where Charles is talking about, that even if the talent is quote-unquote is similar, or maybe even HBCU is slight higher in terms of many components, you're still going to see the fact that the SEC, the Power 5 schools, will get the edge. So I think that's a great component there. I did want to make sure we jump in, and I'll get it back to you. The update in terms of UAPB, head coach Doc Gamble adds 3 new members to his coaching staff, and Gamble himself was removed from the interim tag to the head coaching tag. So I think that's one thing that we certainly want to put out there and note as of interest. And I'll go back to Charles, go ahead, please.
Well, and I wanted to mention along the lines in terms of some coaching movement, Anne-Marie Gilbert in the CIAA. She leaves Virginia Union going to Detroit Mercy. So, she built up a tremendous record at Virginia Union, 135-18 over her time there, 5 seasons at Virginia Union. But now she'll be taking her talents to Detroit Mercy. Yeah,
I'm surprised that a couple of HBCU Division I programs didn't jump at her, especially when she made it all the way to the championship game. She has had tremendous success at Virginia Union, and we keep seeing a couple of these coaching searches out there. Obviously, Alcorn State is still in the middle of their coaching which is the fact they did name on the men's side, and we're looking to have a conversation here shortly with Landon Bussie. They have on their website The Motivator. He's the new men's basketball coach, and we'll go in a little more detail in terms of his information, but that's another one out there in regards to that. Also wanted to talk about the fact that we have Quinn Gray making the move.
Yep.
Alcorn is just all in it, man. They didn't take any time out. They got to it. Quinn Gray, senior, big-time quarterback from Florida A&M University. He's involved coming over from Florida A&M. Now he is the quarterback coach at Alcorn State, and as well as the fact that we have a friend of ours in so many different ways. Tim Smith, Prairie View A&M University graduate, also a football player back in there. He had hashtag Fear the Brave. He is the assistant AD, internal operations. We'll get back into this a little bit now, but I think we have Coach Landon Bussie on the line. Coach, do we have you?
Yes, I'm on the line. How's everybody going today?
Oh, it's going
good.
really well.
Doing?
It's good to have you, Coach.
How you doing,
I'm
Coach?
doing well. I'm doing well.
This is Dr. Will's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, and we're interviewing Landon Bussie, the new men's head basketball coach, the motivator, winner, recruiter, coming over most recently from Prairie View A&M University, obviously winning back-to-back regular seasons was so important in terms of the recruiting component of the team. People may not realize he coached for 2 games as the head coach there, and my understanding, I was there for one of them. He is 2-0, so must put that out there.
Yeah.
With that, Coach, we're happy to have you.
Right now.
Yeah, make sure you put that out there now. Put that out there. Coach, welcome to the show, Dr. Will's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As I get with it, we're going to have a conversation amongst the 4 of us, if you would, but I'll start it off. And if you would, just tell everybody where you're from and how life was growing up.
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Grew up in Baltimore. I mean, my life growing up was pretty much dedicated and surrounded by basketball. My dad played basketball. My sister, he played basketball. She got drafted to the WNBA. My brother played basketball. I try to keep my time occupied with the phenomenal game of basketball. So, growing up, went to Woodlawn High School in high school. Then out of high school, I went to Livingstone College in the CIAA. And I finished my career up at Xavier University out in Louisiana. And, from there, I just, started to, pursue coaching.
Certainly. Let's break that down and go back. Baltimore, hotbed of a lot of basketball talent. Tell us a little bit about how it was growing up in Baltimore.
Growing up in Baltimore, it was an experience to where though you had to fight for everything you got. And a lot of the kids out of Baltimore, they're tough. They got a little bit of grit to them, and they're motivated. So you definitely had to bring everything you got, every single possession. If not, you're just gonna get knocked off. And the reason why I say that is because they're fighting for everything, and they're trying to push you to be successful, especially the coaches and players and things like that. But growing up in Baltimore, it was a great experience. That is who made me the person I am today. And like I said, I enjoy where I come from. I enjoy where I was raised up. I think most important thing is what people don't understand about Baltimore is you pretty much got to be tough to survive with that caliber culture.
Well, certainly, as I seen you coach, particularly at the front of that, I saw much of that attitude come up when you were leading them in and getting that 2-0 record, undefeated record going on. And then, obviously, during the games when you would, as assistant role, you would push, as they say, the defensive side. And I thought you still had a couple of years out there. You might hop out there and make a defensive stop yourself, Coach, the way you were finding the young men. Obviously, it worked. But as we continue, if you would allow us to go down this path and we share this with our listeners, tell us a little bit about getting and going to CIAA, as we like to call it on the show. the grandmother of them all, the oldest HBCU conference out there that has survived through this modern time. Division II, NCAA Division II, Livingstone College. Tell us about that experience and how you got there.
I got there pretty much Coach James Stinson. He recruited me there, and coming in as a freshman, it was pretty much of a culture shock. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything about the area. Didn't know anything about the team, anything like that. So I initially was kind of shy. And most important thing is, CIAA. A lot of them guys I was playing. I think I was 17, 18 at the time. A lot of them guys might have been 24, 25, 26. I think we had a 27-year-old on the team at the time. And I was kind of timid at first, but then once you get out there and you start playing and you start to learn the guys who's on your team and things like that, you start to get comfortable. And I was able to come out my shell and pretty much just start doing what I always known to do was play basketball at a high level. But I think it was a great experience. Coach James Stinson, who's still the head coach at Livingstone College today, we still talk to this day. And that was pretty much because of, me coming in as a freshman. He took me under his wing and, he made sure that, if I needed anything, it was taken care of. I didn't have to worry about, anything as far as, struggling or whatever the case may be. He took me under his wing and make sure that, everything was going to be taken care of. And so, and to this day, me and him, we still, talk to each other, still try to help each other with players and things like that. But, it was a great experience at Livingstone. My 2 years there with the HBCU lifestyle and the Greeks, the fraternities, the sororities, the band, the football team, basketball team, just the atmosphere. It was a great lived atmosphere, and I enjoyed that every moment at Livingstone.
One of our fans, several folks have jumped on here listening, some of your new fans at Alcorn State getting in here, your old fans, if you would, from Prairie View A&M jumping in here, including Jimmy Wilson. Bussie, he talking about he seemed a little excited about you getting this job, Coach.
Yeah.
I got a little nervous when you got the call.
Jimmy was definitely one of our big time supporters.
Yeah. He
would travel a lot to a lot across the country to come support us and give us the support we needed. For the past few years I was at Prairie View, so he was a huge success to some of the success we had at Prairie View by just him supporting us and believing in our staff and believing in our team.
Well, he made sure that I knew why Prairie View got back in the basketball business in terms of both of y'all coaches getting it done in there with Brian Smith and yourself. He made sure I understood that, so I just wanted to give him a little love for making sure that I knew that. But as we continue to transition, you go from Baltimore, the top of the South. Some of these folks don't quite understand the history. And obviously, U.S., the map is kind of weird, so some people still look at Baltimore being the North, but it's the South. You drop down there and you get a little deeper in the South. You go into North Carolina over here, CIAA, NCAA Division II, and then you transfer. You transfer down a little deeper in the South. Over here we talk about deep South, Southwest, if you would, Xavier, certainly. As you go NAIA, you go to Xavier and have experience there. Talk a little bit about being in New Orleans, Louisiana.
In Xavier, that was by far the funnest time of my life.
Good.
It was by far the funnest time of my life. And, a lot of guys that I, built relationship with on the basketball team, those are the guys who are going to be in my wedding, when I get married and things like that. I can honestly say, just, the experience we had there as far as basketball, the, togetherness we had, us enjoying the city of New Orleans and all the different cultures and the festivals and things like that. And, I was able to get 2 degrees from that university.
Oh, wow.
So, that was definitely one of the funnest times of my life.
No doubt about it, kicking off your coaching experience in a lot of ways. At the time, was Xavier in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference? I know they are a member there.
Yes. absolutely. So I think they've been in there for a few years now. I would say at least over 12 years.
Before I pass the mic and get Mike Washington, Charles Bishop in, I want to ask this final part of my segment of the interview. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, interviewing Coach Landon Bussie, the new head men's basketball coach at Alcorn State University. With that, talk about, if you would, the trips between the CIAA and the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference as a member of Linstone and Xavier. If you would share that a little bit about it, your experience taking those road trips and participating against other HBCUs. You have the experience to be able to talk about it both in the CIAA as a member of the Division II level and then in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference at the NAIA level.
Yeah, I think what in the CIAA, I think they just have a little more grit to them as far as the talent wise, and probably a little bit more tougher and older kids who's more mature, bodies is more developed and things like that.
Okay.
Then we go down to Xavier. Xavier is a private school, especially known for the academics. But you'll definitely have a lot of talent. Going against Dillard, Suno, and different schools, Loyola, that's in the area. I think that both levels was pretty good levels, but I think that you get a different brand of basketball between the different two conferences. But it definitely, it definitely was a difference from going from the CIAA to the GCAC as far as the toughness and the talent-wise.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, interviewing the new men's head basketball coach at Alcorn State University, Mr. Landon Bussie, the motivator, winner, recruiter, on his way to the next level. Before I pass the mic to Charles, I want to give a shout out again to George Suggs joining us, Carlos Brown, Donnie Marie Britt, Ryan McGinty, Urbana the man, as well as Willie Alex Hine. Jimmy Wilson sneaks in here and says, send the twins. He said, hit up the coach at Livingstone, and sit up the twins and send them a prayer view. Don't answer that, Coach. We don't get you get in trouble. I'm gonna go to Charles. Go ahead, Charles, with your question.
Sure thing. Coach Bussie, I wanted to ask, what was it about this Alcorn basketball program that made it a good fit for you? Of course, Alcorn is one of the blue blood programs in basketball, if you will, in the SWAC. Demanding fan base. They're tough on their coaches, but what was it about this program that really appealed to you?
Most important thing, I think, was the winning tradition they had in the 80s and the 90s. That was the most important thing. And another thing is the alumni. I'm a competitor. I want to be challenged. I want to be pushed. And I know the alumni base and what they set forward and what they want out of their men's basketball program. And I want to take on that challenge. I want to take on that challenge and pretty much lead this program moving forward. And another thing, a factor was, the football team. I believe that Alcorn State football team has been in the SWAC championship, I want to say the last 7 years. And, it was able to be back-to-back SWAC champions. And so I want to get to that level. I want to, bring the men's basketball team to that level as well. And not to mention, the men's basketball team, it wasn't, too far behind as far as championship-based form. You return a player, Tremaine Crosby, who should be, preseason first-team all-conference next year. They finished in fourth place. You got a lot of different pieces and a lot of different talent coming back. So I definitely think that there's a chance to get this thing headed in the right direction pretty soon with, some tough coaching and a few more additions to this team. I think the most important thing that I think that was a great fit for me is just based off of the tradition they had in the past and, the expectations from the alumni administration. And, more importantly, I'm a competitor. I want to be challenged. I want to be pushed. And, that's what drives me the most.
With that, Charles, did you have a follow-up question you want to ask there?
Well, yeah, in terms of your time at Prairie View, you guys really became one of the preeminent programs in the SWAC, and I was curious in terms of what was, I guess, the foundational pieces that you were able to build in terms of this Prairie View basketball program that is now one of the top programs in the Southwestern Athletic Conference?
When Coach Smith took over the program, he pretty much, told the coaches, what he was looking for. And most important thing he was looking for is, for the recruiting to go up. He wanted us to be very detailed about the players that we was bringing in, and try to go after them players that we might not supposed to get, and try to see if we can pull this thing together. And the most important thing also, practice. He wanted to turn practice up a little bit more, and challenge our student athletes to be pretty much sell their soul in the defensive end. So last year, we were 7th in the nation in forcing turnovers. The year before that, we were 2nd in the nation in forcing turnovers. And I think the most important thing what we did first was when we got the caliber type of players that we wanted, as in Devontae Patterson and Gary Blackston and Gerard Andrus and Dennis Jones and Darius Wood, those type of kids. When we got that core group of guys in, okay, now it's time to turn this practice up. And that was the culture that we set, and that was the culture we created. And so what it did was, every day in practice was a war. Every day, the players' bodies was hurting after practice. And, we turned the practice up so much to where as though going into conference time, we was like, okay, we need to slow this down, because they're starting to hurt each other too much now. They're starting to, get into it too much, and they're going to hurt each other. But, that's the culture we created. That's the culture we created. And, and what it did was, most important, it translated over into games. And, we would go into games more physical than teams. We would go into games aggressive. We would go into games, just pretty much dominant and trying to impose our will on teams. And so that was the most important thing that I could say that, Coach Smith, led us with, as far as changing the culture, changing the recruiting, and just changing the mindset of the student athlete.
Sure thing.
With that, this is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We'll take a quick break, if you would, here, and then we'll come back and let Mike Washington ask a couple of questions as well.
What up, world? It's your boy, Rob Calloway, host of the HBCU Report, and right now, you're inside the HBCU Sports Lab with my guy, all hail the dean of HBCU Sports. You know I named him that. Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, my guy. What's happening, man?
Coach Bussie, we'll let you inside that joke right there a little later. We'll call you off the record. We had to sneak that in.
Okay.
I am the dean of HBCU Sports.
You would have to break that. Was that really a scheduled break?
Say, man, y'all need to pay attention to your teleprompters. There, y'all know what's going on. Y'all gonna be a co-host of the show. Y'all gotta get with the program. Again, this is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. On a serious note, we're here with Coach Landon Bussie, the new men's head basketball coach at Alcorn State. Motivator, winner, recruiter, getting it done in many ways. Mike Washington, take away with your question.
Coach Bussie, again, congratulations on being named the head coach for Alcorn State. Couple of things that Dr. Cavil stated. Baltimore is not in the South. I don't care how you look at it. It's not the South. I love B-more, don't get me wrong. But it's not the South. So, in all seriousness, we joke around a lot, but you've been a part of different cultures, whether it's the CIAA or the GCAC, and most recently the SWAC. And you've been a part of successful formulas. And that's a culture which you've been a part of building. What are the 2 or 3 things that you've taken from those cultures that you plan to really transplant into Alcorn State as you take the reins?
Like I said, I'm definitely going to take different techniques that I learned from the different cultures I've been at. But the most important thing is going to be toughness. And the type of caliber players that I want to bring in, I want to bring in some tough, hungry, motivated kids who, pretty much might not come for nothing, but they're willing to give it everything that they got. And I want to, turn this program. I don't really want to say turn this program around, because like I said, they finished in 4th place last year. top of four. I want to lead this program into a championship program. And by doing that, it's like I said, it's going to start with, most important thing, building relationships. I want to build a relationship with the student athletes to where as though they have a resource and, they're able to come talk to me about what's going on. They know I'm going to challenge them, and they understand that, when I'm challenging them in practice and challenging them in the game, I just want the best out of them, and I want the best thing for the program. And I guess when you're able to build a relationship and a rapport with that, student athletes, they'll accept hard coaching. And another thing I want to do is, I want to establish a culture in practice where as though, like I was telling you in the past about how we had at Prairie View, I want to establish that same culture. As far as every day it's a battle, every day it's a war. Every day, this person had the best day. I don't want every day somebody, dominating practice. I don't want to be like that. I want to have a balance-based practice to where as though everybody is being pushed by their particular position every single day. And I think it starts with it starts with me. Every day I'm gonna make sure I come in there with energy. I'll make sure I'm coming in there with a lot of intensity. I'm gonna make sure I'm coming in there with some fiery. And and I'm going to expect the same thing out of my assistant coaches and my staff, and that will trickle down to the student athlete, and they will mirror after us as far as the energy that we'll bring every day and the intensity that we will bring.
Go ahead, Mike. Did you have a follow-up question you want to ask?
Yeah, and building on that, Coach Bussie, you're known as a recruiter. That goes without question. But you're also known as kind of a mentor. You helped develop Devontae Patterson. What is so unique that you could see about your recruiting style, your recruiting technique, and how do you infuse that into developing specific individual players?
The thing about me and Devontae, we had a relationship to where though I would talk to him a lot. Devontae Patterson is a very, very emotional player. He wears his emotions on his sleeves. So I was able to connect with him and understood him. A lot of people didn't understand him, and I was able to connect with him and understand him, and just have a relationship with him to where as though if something's not going right, you could talk to me. I'm here for you, and that's not just on the court, that's off the court as well. And so like I said, players like Devontae, you're talking about he's player of the year and things like that. So we knew that it was going to be challenges, as far as when we took Devontae. But I think that, the good outweighed the bad with him, because at the end of the day, he was a great kid. He'll give you the shirt off his back. His biggest, thing was, his emotions. And he was so passionate about basketball. Sometimes he didn't know how to, translate his emotion on the court. But, we accepted it. And I think that, it was a great relationship with him and his staff and his teammates. And, I would definitely, would love to have 5 more Devontaes come with me to Alcorn State, if they're going to bring, that same type of passion he brought every single day, the intensity he brought every single day. And, I will have a relationship with the, student athletes just as well, then I'm the head coach now.
Okay.
No doubt about it. Charles, you want to jump back in here to follow up a question before we start the close and let Coach Bussie go?
Sure, Coach Bussie, and I did want to kind of follow up on something that you said, because you mentioned the toughness or the battles that you guys had at Prairie View. And I wanted to kind of ask this question in terms of the number of guys that we see transfer now, especially with NCAA college basketball. But how do you kind of tap in to that player who wants to be coached hard, or do players still want to be coached hard?
A lot of them don't, but I think that's why it's important to be very detailed about the players you're recruiting. To call their former coaches, call their their parents, call their AAU coaches, high school coaches, junior college coaches, Division I transfers. To be very detailed about it, because it's hard to find student athletes now and players today that wants to be coached pretty hard. It's virtually impossible. But however, that's why I think it's important to have a strong staff and to tap into recruiting, get to know the kids, and get to know their family, see the background that they came from, and see who coached them. And then if you're very detailed about that, there's going to be times that players that they might be emotional, they might they really aren't in the best mood right now to be coached tough. But a lot of the times it's all about the type of player that you're recruiting and where they came from and how they was raised.
With
I understand.
that, Coach, I want to follow up on a macro type question in regards to just general basketball at the collegiate level and how it comes in part of your philosophy. Obviously, we've transitioned through your life and took that trip in terms of what has put you at this position to now to become the new head men's basketball coach at Alcorn State. Talk about, if you would, what does it look like in terms of the recruiting framework in college athletic these days at the various levels, and how do you put a schematic together to go about getting that done? Obviously, you don't have to get into your secrets that you are going to put in your book or that you take with you. But if you would, let us inside that atmosphere. A lot of us don't get a chance to do that, and so we love to see that and hear that.
I think the biggest thing today, like you said, with the transfer portal so high, I think that a lot of high school kids are being overlooked. Because I believe it's like probably about 600 kids who put their name in the transfer portal this year, and even junior college kids are being overlooked. But I think with me, one thing I look for is try to find somebody. Most important thing is their character. Definitely want to get some insight of their character, and see what type of young man he is. And the next question is, I want to check off is the toughness. When I mean toughness, it's not just on the court, off the court. I mean, is this kid, if you have a 6 a.m. practice and you get out of practice 7:45 a.m. but they have an 8 o'clock class, are they tough enough to go to that 8 a.m. class and push through it and still be engaged in class, or do they go back to their room and go to sleep and sleep through the class? And another part of the toughness is pretty much are you willing to sacrifice your body every day and willing to take care of it after that? And that starts with being in the training room, getting stretched, putting the right nutrition in your body, and things like that. And the next part, I wanted, after the toughness, your talent. I mean, how talented are you? Can you lead this program moving forward? I mean, are you just going to be an okay player, or are you going to be an all-conference player? So those three things I want to, check off.
Thank you for that. Coach Fire, asked you if there are any questions, any information you'd like to provide to your fans that you left at Prairie View and now your new fans in your new home over at Alcorn. Any follow-up final questions that either one of you gentlemen want to ask Mike or Charles?
Congratulations, Coach, and I look forward to you having success at Alcorn.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I'd like to echo that. I know you're a religious man, so all things giving praise to God and Jesus Christ. So I know that was in your quotes, but all in all, just looking at you and seeing you coach, congratulations, and I wish you nothing but the best. As a Panther, I hate losing you. I'm not even going to lie, Coach. But at least we kept your talent still in the swag. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I agree with both of those gentlemen. I will add in, Prairie View A&M and Texas Southern University. We do want you to have success, but that's 0-4 that we need to make sure it takes place on the conference. Don't get it twisted. Don't get too much.
I don't go 0-4. That wouldn't be good at all.
I know, but they wishing you all this success. I'm just saying, I know you're going to get a lot done, but I'm not going to wish you success against those two institutions. I'm sure I see them appropriately, it might happen, but, I don't want to fool you there. But is there anything that you want to say seriously to the SWAC fans out here that are watching you, particularly the Prairie View fans, and most importantly, obviously, Alcorn State Braves, those Brave fans out there, the Brave Nation, as they like to bring that smoke?
Most important thing, I just want to, thank the Prairie View alumni base, the fans, the student body, the athletic department, Coach Smith, who gave me the opportunity and prepared me for this situation to be successful. I think that, I've been receiving a lot of text messages and social media messages, phone calls, just from alumni, fans, former players, previous players, and, current players, previous players. And, they just, thanking me of the impact that I had on Prairie View. And it's very important, for me to stress that I'm greatly appreciated, and I'm just honored, for all that love that I've been getting, and for the Alcorn State fans, I look forward to meeting them and being engaged, and building a relationship with the alumni and the fans. And my goal is to make them proud, and make Mr. Horn proud, and I was grateful for the opportunity that was presented to me. And so moving forward, I just want to, be challenged. I'm going to be pushed, and I know the expectations of this program, and I know what everybody's expecting. And like I said, I'm going to come in right away, trying to lead this program in the upward direction immediately.
No doubt about that. While you're over there, make sure you say hi to Tim Smith, as we've lost him a little while ago. But now, I'm not going to say who said this, but a lot of people talking about Alcorn State is Prairie View West, so I don't know what that means, but I seem like y'all getting it done.
Prairie View East.
East, excuse me. Tell me about the directions there, huh? Coach Landon Bussie, again, thank you for joining us, and congratulations. Much success in all seriousness. Continue to build the young men that you're around, and continue to make a lot of us proud in terms of how you take care of your business, and wish you the best of luck. Again, Landon Bussie, new men's head basketball coach. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. With that, let's jump on here and get back into some of our conversation in terms of news of the day. Obviously, last week we were talking about the breakdown of an article with how COVID-19 is affecting the NCAA. And so, and the programs that are associated with it, and really all athletics and sports across the board. That's at the interscholastic level, amateur level, both youth level, as well as collegiate level and professional level, all in that. So one of the news out here is talking about NCAA group to propose possible changes to allow athlete endorsement. Before we get into that, we will follow up next week in regards to following up on that last article to give you a little more information, and we want some fan engagement in regards to how that looks next week. So we'll put something out Monday on the Facebook page in regards to Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, as well as inside the HBCU Sports Lab, so we can engage, so we can answer some of those questions that you may have for next week's show, as we take a deeper dive in breaking down that article. As you recall, those that follow us last week, in that article, we had so many different angles and different people that were talking about COVID-19 and its effects specifically on college sports and college athletics, as a lot of people like to call it. So wanted to break that down. But let's get back into this a little bit. Article that just broke a little earlier today by Dan Murphy was talking about NCAA group to propose possible changes to allow athlete endorsement. Before I get into more of the article to kind of let you know what's going around here, just give me your general thoughts on that. Let's start with you, Mike. What are your general thoughts in terms of the NCAA finally, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, getting with the time in regards to giving athletes endorsements? Obviously, the most recent one was NIL, the name, likeness issue, if you would. Now we're taking even more further out there in terms of the endorsement component of it. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, I certainly think it's the right move. I think it's been a long time in the making. I wonder kind of, and part of the engineering background in me kind of skips to the how-to. How do you divide that line between scholar and professional athlete still? I'm sure there are other NCAA rules that you may be on the fringe of, but when you're talking likeliness and you're basically making athletes or student athletes kind of walking billboards, and you're kind of legalizing that to a certain extent, and I'm wondering how this, where the lines are drawn, and I'm sure that gets into a lot of detail. I certainly think that students should get some kind of benefit from their efforts because they make millions and millions of dollars from the school. But I just wonder where you draw the line between professional athlete and academic student.
Yeah, I think you make good points, and a lot of people are actually on that side of it. I'm like, they figure out everything else, so they can figure it out. But let me let Charles jump in here and give his framework of what that may be. Go ahead, Charles. May have a little technical difficulty with Charles.
May have had difficulties.
So, as I'll frame it up with the southern part of it, is we see if we can get Charles back in here. As the article says, the NCAA Board of Governors appointed a working group 6 months ago to figure out how to give student athletes a chance to make money while also maintaining a distribution between college sports and professional leagues. A distinction, I should say, which is more of what Mike is alluding to. What is that fine line? The group presented their recommendation to the Division I Council last week and was scheduled to conduct a similar presentation to the board, which oversees all the three divisions of NCAA Tuesday afternoon. NCAA members will have several months to review the recommendations and add their input before the board votes on any formal proposal. The NCAA typically votes on new rules in its annual meeting in January, but the board governors can institute new policies at other times if deemed necessary. Again, this is an article on ESPN coming from Dan Murphy breaking down the NCAA group to propose possible changes to allow athlete endorsements. There are several components of that. And let me get in a little more into that as we come to the top of the hour. According to a source, the working group intends to recommend the following possibility changes, and they put that in quotes. So there's still a lot of potential change that could come in here.
Yeah, and bullet 3 and 4 is what I really have questions and issues with. Go ahead, Doc.
Oh, no problem. Allow student athletes to make money by modeling apparel as long as that apparel doesn't include schools, logos, or other school marks. Allow athletes to make money from advertisement. Athletes could be allowed to identify themselves as college athletes in advertisement, but would not be allowed to reference the school they attend or include any school marks in the advertisement. That's similar to professional sports in a lot of ways. That separates that because the college itself is its own identity and would have the own rights to that. So I can see that. Prohibit athletes from marketing products that conflict with NCAA legislation, such as gambling operations or banned substance. Individual schools would also be allowed to prohibit athletes from marketing products that do not line up with the school's values. You see that maybe a little more from private institutions and things of that. Charles has joined it back, and I'll let you jump back in here and give your perspective. But we're reading what they call possible changes, if you would, and they allow athletes to hire the agent to help promote marketing opportunities, so long as the agent does not seek professional sports opportunities for the client during his or her college career. And the last big component, at least in this short article that they're looking at, is require athletes to disclose the details of all endorsement contracts to their athletic department. The working group would recommend further discussion about whether a third party should be involved in overseeing this disclosure in a way that prevents endorsement deals from becoming improper recruiting enticements. So with this said, Charles, what is your framework on this thus far of what you heard?
I mean, I kind of echo Mike's comments. I think it's long overdue. And like you said, Dr. Veal, looks like the NCAA is finally getting with the times. I think we jumped the shark a long time ago in regards to the framework of student athlete, and now it looks, especially on the Power 5 level, more like employee-employer. So it's finally refreshing, at least, to see that athletes are part of the equation in terms of getting an opportunity to endorse themselves. I think, it's another sign of the times. We take a look. We had another basketball player yesterday who came out and was like, he's just going to forego the whole NCAA model and go right to the G League. So I think you're starting to see the NCAA finally recognizing we might have a bigger issue on our hands if we don't, in some ways, change up our 1950s model.
Yep.
Great points as you bring it up there. We'll leave it right there and close up. As we said, we'll get in a little more of this discussion as it will follow up what we're talking about both of these models in terms of how you're going to bring athletics back and how college athletics will change. Obviously, this will be a component of it. But you're listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington. As we come to a close, I hope you enjoyed our show brought to you by THG Agency and our interview with Landon Bussie, the new head men's basketball coach at Alcorn State University. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Certainly hope you enjoyed your time with us today as we continue to get it done in so many ways. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Every Tuesday from 6 to 7 right here on KCOH
and boy,
in Houston, Texas.
I love it. I love it. I love my HBCU and man.
Dream big.
I hope my team they won, yeah. 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 I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the boss.